welcome to the special PocketGamer.biz podcast series because this time I'm joined by Craig Chapple. Craig, head of content, of course, at PG.biz. First of all, it's great to see you, and it's like you're touching down from jet setting to all our events. So how you been?
It's
Been a
great
while.
to be on the interview show with you, Peggy. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of traveling. We did PGC Barcelona, and now we're off to Shanghai on July 30th.
It was your idea, so I have to give you full credit. And I'm so excited because, we have this great IP. We have the 50 top games, the top 50 games list. And yeah, let's do it. Let's be ambitious, you said. Let's have them on as guests. We're going to get as many as we can, obviously not 50, because then we would just be doing that for a whole year. It's weekly, right? But we do have a returning name and even a bigger splash because we have Nazara Technologies. And if you've been watching the news, and Craig, you've been writing the news and reporting it, they are on fire. They are doing a ton. So it's truly a true pioneer in Indian gaming. So we're fortunate because we have Nitish Mittersain. He is founder and MD of Nazara Technologies. So I'm surprised you even have the time because it's like everything going on. I'm getting something in my inbox. First of all, you've launched India's first listed games company, and then you're building it to a multi-vertical powerhouse. We're seeing it, esports, publishing, and you've grown it to a company that we need to know and watch because, yes, it's in the top 50. So how would you describe your studio for our listeners?
Nazara started in 1999, so it's been over 25 years that we've been around. We started
Mm-hmm.
with a dream of being India's largest gaming company. But over the years, we've gone global and look at ourselves as now a global gaming company versus a Indian gaming company. Like you mentioned, we have gaming studios that produce IPs on mobile and now even PC and console. We have
Mm-hmm.
esports business. We're also having related ad tech businesses. So pretty well diversified business. India, of course, remains our home market. It's a market that's growing very fast and is very exciting for us. But we're equally excited with our global expansion and all the fantastic studios that are working with us in what we call the Friends of Nazara network.
One of your LinkedIn posts, I think it was like a few months ago, might have been last year. You've been, as you say, you've been pretty busy. But one of the interesting things that you said was, correct me obviously if I be correct, but is that in recent years, kind of the investor interests has kind of taken off. I think you meant like in India, but also in Nazara. So you're saying that for like the past 25 years, obviously you've been building up the company, but perhaps that much investor interest hasn't been there. What's changed for Nazara and the India games market to kind of drive that?
Yeah, I would say I think especially the last 5 years have been, accelerating at a very fast pace for us. I think multiple things are at play. One is from an India market perspective, gaming consumption in India has just exploded with the way mobile internet penetration has grown. Today in India with 4G and 5G at very cheap rates, everybody's online. Digital payment ecosystem in India is really well developed, and I think that's really boosting consumption. We have over 500 million mobile phone gamers in India. Maybe the monetization is lagging a bit, but consumption is very high, and that's very exciting for us. I think from an investor perspective, particularly the Nazara IPO, which happened in 2021, we had 175 times oversubscription to our IPO, and this was India's first gaming IPO. So I think that kind of brought the gaming industry in India in focus for Indian investors as well as global investors. And I think that has been very beneficial to us being able to garner investor interest. You must also appreciate that we are listed in the Indian stock market, which is now a fairly deep and fairly active, well sought after equity markets with global investors making sure that they have their slice of the pie in this market. So we are able to attract very strong local and global investors. Thirdly,
Mm-hmm.
over the last, I would say 6-7 years, right, Nazara's kind of transitioned into this global platform
Mhm.
which allows us to demonstrate our ability to scale. We have been growing fast. If you see our latest quarterly results, we posted a year-on-year 90% growth in revenue, while continuing to be very profitable. So I think that, of course, no investor would complain about. And we're also in this, I would say, moment in time where M&A is has been working well for us. We've been doing it for many years, and we're kind of scaling it up globally, and being able to partner with a lot of fantastic companies, including a few others in your top 50 list. So I think all of this coming together makes it kind of very exciting.
I want to ping on what you said, Craig, talking about the investment. I mean, I'm reading now, Nitish, that you're targeting 10 billion valuation within 5 years. Um, Maybe it's the platform, the friends of Nazara, but what is the biggest driver you see getting you there?
Yeah. You see, it's important to understand that Nazara is, not a new company, and it
Hmm.
took us 25 years to get to the $1 billion valuation. We trade at about $1.3 billion today. But I think both how the Indian gaming market is poised to scale, especially on monetization over the next 5 years, is going to by far be the fastest growing gaming market in the world in terms of revenues as well. And also our ability through our Friends of Nazara platform to expand globally and partner with profitable gaming studios who own, established IP, the strong M&A pipeline with high returns of capital, strong synergy, etc., I think can get us there. It's a snowball effect, right? We're also now, the larger we're growing, the more we're demonstrating our capability, especially to do M&A in the correct manner. More and more investors are, getting attracted to us, which allows us to raise more capital and deploy faster. I would say in the last 18 months, we've raised over $200 million of capital. The prior 20 years, we've probably raised $5 million or $10 million of capital. So I think it's this snowball effect that we are seeing. And that's why we're setting our ambitions much higher from where we are today.
How realistic, I mean, is 10 billion? Is that just kind of the number to kind of attract interest? Because obviously, the past few years, the games industry globally really has been through a very tough time.
I believe, the positive sentiment in India, which we are able to benefit from, uh, turns the negative sentiment globally actually to our advantage, and we are able to, leverage, like I said, partnerships, investments, and acquisitions with some really fantastic companies, including the ones in UK we've done last year and this year with Fusebox Games and Curve Games, established companies who've been there around for many years, fantastic teams. And one important way of Nazara working, the Friends of Nazara that I keep referring to, we operate in a fairly decentralized manner, which means that the teams that we partner with or invest into continue to remain fairly autonomous and are able to continue to drive to their ambitions while we roll up our sleeves and help wherever we can, right? So I think the model has kind of been tweaked over the last 5 7 years, and I believe that's our secret recipe or our magic recipe to let us 10x from where we stand today.
I just want to get back to the ecosystem and understand Friends of Nazara. I mean, what is that exactly? Is that a platform? It's going across different verticals. So, what is a fit in the platform? What isn't a fit in the platform? Obviously, you want to grow the platform, and maybe companies, people in our audience want to understand. Is there a fit? How do they fit? So maybe you can just unpack that a little bit more.
Sure. So Friends of Nazara is our gaming platform, which is powered by centers of excellence in user acquisition, data analytics, artificial
Mhm.
intelligence, product
Okay.
growth, etc. Right? We have strong teams across the board, and we look to partner with gaming studios that have established and successful IP, and who can benefit from some of these core competencies that we can bring to the table for them while they continue going down the path and journey that they have already been in. So for us, from an M&A or investment perspective, we obviously look at gaming IP, whether it's original or licensed. We look at the founder or the team management team mindset. What are their objectives? Is this company profitable or has a clear path to profitability? We're not in the mindset of investing in large burn companies. That's not our DNA. Obviously, what is the strategic value to our core gaming vision or platform synergies? And it's really 1 plus 1 equal to 3, 4, 5, 11, right? If it's 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 or 1.5, then it doesn't matter. And is there an opportunity to scale globally or unlock, new revenue streams? I think if I were to give you an example, right, with the Fusebox acquisition that we did last year, the team there is in UK, headed by Terry Fantastic. They really understand the narrative, story-based gaming genre, and they've been doing fantastic work with Love Island over the last few years. And alongside us, we've helped them with some additional bandwidth in India. We've helped them on certain of these core competencies that we spoke. And now they're on a path of launching a game a quarter, including they've just released Big Brother last month. They're going to launch Bigg Boss in India in multiple languages. A lot of exciting things happening. So that's the way we really enjoy working with these teams and just helping them accelerate down the path that they're already there.
You basically have a portfolio across the whole company that spans kind of so many different segments and genres and platforms. So you've got games, and within that, now that you've also bought Curve Studios, and you're talking about Fusebox, so you've got mobile, PC, console, so publishing and developing, wildly different genres. You've made investments in poker. You have media investments. You have esports investments. So why are you pursuing such a broad, wide scope rather than focusing on like a speciality? Does that does that come with risks that you're spreading yourself quite wide at the moment?
I think there are two perspectives. One is certain investments that we have done, for example, in PokerBazi, which is India's largest poker platform, or we own majority stake in Nodwin Gaming, which is India's largest esports company. Both companies having 70% market share and dominating the markets, have been very India first, India specific opportunities of large scale on macro trends, and it made sense for us to go down that path. From a global perspective, a lot of our focus is on core gaming, both on mobile and PC console. PC console being a new entrant, and within that, I would say some of the elements that I just spoke to you a few minutes ago, right? So I think some specific opportunities in India, but larger core gaming play globally is the way we are approaching it. While it does look diversified, it does come with some advantages as well. The wider canvas gives us a lot more optionality in terms of having many more companies fit our filters. Because I would say our own filters are pretty strict or pretty tight, and therefore the larger of the companies we can put in top of the funnel, we're able to get better options. If we narrow down our focus too much, then I think it would be a little tougher for us. So I think from that perspective, the wider canvas is helping us. Of course, the flip side of being a leader in a niche, of course, has its own merits. But we chose to go down this path. Lastly, with our experience of 20-25 years, I've realized that one, slotting yourself in a very narrow space can have its own challenges because our businesses continue to be very disruptive. Things are changing all the time. And having a slightly wider portfolio allows us to be nimble enough to, go with trends, evolve ourselves, just the way we've done in the last 25 years.
You said that the business is kind of autonomous. So I'm curious, like how do you bring them together, or do you not? They all run separately, or is the grander plan to, okay, well, we can harness this publisher to help that developer? And then the second question there is what happens if when one of these companies kind of fails, which can happen with such a broad M&A strategy? You,
Yeah.
are you concerned that then it kind of brings the rest of the company down, which has happened with certain other big publishers?
Yeah. I think we're trying always to find the right balance between, running a decentralized operation, which is autonomous with the management, because they need to feel empowered and continue to feel responsible for their business and also get the reward for it, right? So our structures are built in that manner, where the managements are highly incentivized for performance, and they are given enough freedom and space to be able to execute in the way they think right. At the same time, our intent is always to add value where we can. Whether different studios and different companies have different areas where they need help. It could be on data analytics or user acquisition or getting up to speed on AI or just using our network with platform owners, and we plug in where we can. We do bring a core DNA of focus on profitability with growth. We're a very cash flow minded company, so we're not really worried about your revenue or your EBITDA or your PAT, but more about your cash flows. So I think certain DNA elements we do try and infuse to the extent we can. Now, in terms of synergies, I've always had a belief that one of the biggest failures in M&A is caused by overestimating synergies at the time of acquisition, overpaying for the synergies, which may never materialize, and also because you've kind of visualized so many synergies right from day one of the acquisition. You start pushing the management of the acquired company just to focus on synergies and deliver on these synergies, which kind of defocuses them from the core business in itself. So our approach has been quite the opposite, where while we may look at synergies at a holistic high level, we actually buy a company for its core capabilities and for its own core business. And we let the synergies kind of evolve over a period of time with much softer hands, I would say. And that has worked better for us.
How would you describe the current state of it, and what still needs to change for India to reach its full potential? Because I've been hearing since for a decade now, at least, oh, it's about to kind of the revenue is going to rise quite a lot. It's going to be the big new market, and I feel like it still hasn't happened. Although we did have PUBG Mobile and Garena kind of prove, I think, that there is a market that's willing to spend, but still the level of downloads versus level of spending is still quite low.
I think taking a step back, it's important to understand the history here, right? India has been a mobile first gaming market, unlike many Western markets or Eastern markets, which would be kind of PC first markets or console first markets. These devices never really were accessible in India. So real people's first experiences of playing games really came with the Android phones, let's say in 2007, 2008, 2009, right? Naturally, the first approach of these gamers was to be very casual in nature or hyper casual in nature, keep trying out new things, right? And therefore, India's been a mobile first casual gaming kind of nation. Propensity to pay therefore has always been less. People
Mm-hmm.
were happy to just consume free content to the extent that they can, and carry on, right? And there's so much of free content available. There was never a lot of I would say well made localized content, because the market didn't really support or justify the kind of large investments it would take to make very localized high quality games earlier. But over the last decade, especially, a lot of things have changed. The devices have become cheaper and much more powerful. So they're really high quality gaming devices in the hands of 500 million game Indians today. The second thing is, like I was saying, the data is very fast and reliable. It's among the lowest cost in the world. So people don't think twice about using data. You have 5G rolling out all over the country, again, probably at the lowest costs in the world. So I think that's fantastic. And digital payments has been completely eye opener in the last decade, right? I think the adoption of digital payments in India is so high, probably among the best in the world. For every micro payment, this didn't exist earlier, but in the last decade, it's really taken off extremely well. So all of these put together, combined with the fact that 65% of Indians are below the age of 35, we really have strong youth demographics, and Indians love entertainment, whether it's Bollywood and other things, right? So I think there's a natural progression to gaming. So you have a market, high consumption, digital payments work now. Youth is coming up, which is very much into gaming. I think you will have a situation where in the next 5 years or so, the Indian market will really surprise everyone. And I'm actually very surprised. I think it's because of this pessimism that you spoke about, that it's happening. India's been a potentially large market for a really long time,
Yeah.
right? But it's never really delivered. And I'm surprised that in 2025, there's very few global players who are really active in the Indian market. And I think a lot of them are missing something very important. Also, why we launched Nazara Publishing, to partner with a lot of global players and help bridge the Indian market for them.
Great segue. I wanted to get to that, but I was also thinking what you said before when Craig asked you about your M&A, and you said, you're opening opportunities for Fusebox in India. So that's
Yes.
that's pretty different, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the engines that monetize well, married with a strong local IP, could perform extremely well. So, for example, Bigg Boss in India, which is the kind of the you know is a sister concern of Big Brother, is very popular in India, right? Across the country, it runs in 8 different languages, and it's a perfect fit for the engine that Fusebox already has and the narrative that it already has. I think that partnership, facilitating that partnership, helping generate the local narrative that is required, helping localization in terms of local live operations, local influencer marketing, local branding, and also different ways of local monetization. I think there are multiple things that we can do. So one of our ideas are that companies that we invest in, of course, how do we open up the Indian market for them, right? Which can be,
Hmm.
if not very large today, at least give them that, I would say, lead going forward in a market that will start scaling very fast.
We kind of been talking about how Nazara has kind of been building up the company, and we mentioned kind of the opportunities in India, and you're like surprised not as many companies are looking at it. Uh, but as for studios within India, what can they do to find success on the global stage and not just within India? Because for Nazara, you've got kind of you've been around for decades,
Yeah,
but now you've kind of got all this money to pump into expanding internationally.
yeah,
What can other smaller India studios be doing?
yeah. The challenge with Indian studios over the decades, I would say, or in the last decade, largely has been that a lot of the teams had strong competency when it came to, you know, graphics, animation, coding, quality assurance. But I think there was culturally, because of lack of exposure, there was challenges in game design and monetization. And I think a lot of the Indian developers have not been able to get global success, probably because of gaps in some of these areas. I think that's being fixed pretty quickly now. I'm seeing
Mm-hmm.
starting to see success stories. Our own product, Kidopia, which was made in Mumbai, right here in India, right, has been a long-term success in the US markets, topping the charts quite regularly and has sustained for a really long time. I think last 7 years very successfully. You've got other examples like Play Simple, which have done extremely well in word games, etc. So I think you're starting to see Indian developers break out, and I think you will see a lot more of that. Our Prime Minister is himself pushing this. In the last Independence Day speech, he actually called upon Indians not to just play games, but make games for the world. So we're also seeing very strong governmental support in terms of, this direction. So I think slowly but steadily we are getting there, and
Hmm.
over the next few years, I think India can be the next Turkey type of market, or other markets, emerging markets, which have kind of had really successful global gaming companies emerge out.
A lot of the strength of India is in data, understanding the data, AI, a lot of innovation there. So I'm wondering, is that going to play more in favor of the Indian games market overall? Because if people want almost personalized games within games, it just seems to me that as that is more data driven and more business driven and perhaps less about the gameplay, but it's more gameplay plus
Yeah,
segmentation, personalization, all of that.
yeah.
Is that where you see it headed, particularly when you think about AI in the mix? I mean, this might be what the differentiator is.
Yeah, well, Indians have always been very good in math, so
True.
I'm sure we can use that as a hedge for ourselves. But I think more importantly, like I was saying earlier, leveraging AI in the correct manner will help probably plug some gaps in the Indian developer capabilities, which may allow them to kind of blossom globally. In terms of using AI for gaming, both in terms of how games are made or how they are engaged, how players interacted with, I think it goes without saying that that is the future, right? And if whether it's an Indian company or any other company anywhere in the world who doesn't move fast enough to catch up with that trend is going to get left behind. We are very cognizant of it, and therefore we are doing a lot of work both at the parent level here at Nazara as well as with all our studios.
In India's games industry, on a global level, is still quite a nascent industry, even though there's been companies there for a very long time, like yourselves. Do you think they're particularly well placed to actually take advantage of these new generative AI technologies? I was at a talk last year at Dubai Game Summit, and Jeff Linden was the founder and president of iDream Sky, was talking about the opportunity in the Middle East because it was a new industry. They weren't kind of made, it's the wrong word, but like constrained, entrenched in kind of old ways of making games. Do you think that in some ways that could be said for India's games market, that you can actually adapt quite quickly?
Good to hear of Jeff. He's been a good friend of mine. I haven't heard of it, about him or of from him since a while. But absolutely, I think we're very seized about leveraging AI in the right manner. There's a lot of buzz generally of AI, as everywhere here in the Indian startup ecosystem as well. A lot of funding going into them. And I think that just kind of gravitates everybody's focus on that piece of technology. I think gaming companies here, I'm seeing a lot of developers pick it up very fast. I think one of the reasons is uh, while Nazara has been, quite successful in raising capital, being a publicly listed gaming company in India, I think younger gaming companies are still not seeing enough capital flow into their markets, which means that they're still operating on relatively lean teams and lean budgets, and naturally pushes them into now using AI to the maximum extent possible, which I think is a great thing. So, yeah, I again feel that this will be one key reason where you will see Indian companies starting to emerge globally in a much more successful manner.
So we're talking about how studios are pushing the boundaries with AI, and of course, it wouldn't be a show if we didn't talk a lot about AI because that is the deal. But it's getting us excited as an industry. What gets you excited at Nazara, Nitish?
I think seeing our revenues grow 90% year on year, and
Yeah, that would do it.
our EBITDA
That's
grow
good. That's good. That's a good one. Yeah.
100% year on year uh,
Yeah.
keeps me excited. So
Uh-huh.
at least the teams know what needs to be done. But I think honestly, I started coding games when I was 7 in basic language on a ZX Spectrum, and therefore I've always been a technologist at heart. I didn't really study computer engineering, etc. I just did business studies and actually kind of dropped out of college because I started Nazara when I was 16, 25
Hmm.
years, 26 years back. And therefore, if you were to ask me uh, what's exciting us at Nazara in terms of beyond business as usual, I think we remain quite excited about opportunities around Web3, uh, around digital asset ownership. We're quite excited about what virtual reality and the metaverse will offer. We're not, while it's again somewhat like what you said about the Indian market, it's been kind of on the horizon for a really, really long time. And therefore, a lot of people are very pessimistic about, VR, etc. I think we're very bullish. I think that is the future form of gaming. And therefore, we are doing some stuff. We just published one game called Poker Wars on Meta and Apple Vision Pro, so we're doing stuff around that. And then third, of course, everything and anything to do with AI. I think that's the beauty of our being in the gaming business, right? At any point of time, you see the business in the next 5 years will completely transform due to all the technological changes that are happening around us. That keeps us very excited.
So I thought I would round it out because you told us about what gets you excited, but what also gets you grounded? Because when you're not running Nazara and building and scaling, you're also playing saxophone in a jazz band, right? That's quite a contrast. So how do those disciplines come together? I know it's about math at some level because music and math that works, but how does that work for you?
Well, like every Indian, I was fond of Bollywood, and a particular
Uh-huh.
song in Bollywood that made me learn the sax when I was much younger. And then
Okay.
I was kind of, we had a kind of a jazz scene here in Mumbai with a few clubs where we used to play with a jazz band. So I've just kept that hobby going. I try and play on the weekends and sometimes share a song on LinkedIn or so, because otherwise there's too many life lessons on LinkedIn going on all the time. So maybe I thought I'll break the monotonity once in a while. Yeah.
You're right. LinkedIn is just too much professional. We are fun, not just professionals. We are people.
I speak to a lot of startup entrepreneurs here in India, and I think for me, my 25 years of experience can be, kind of what I like to say is the three P's, which is passion, uh, perseverance, and positivity. I think if you can maintain these three P's for the long term, you will more likely than not be successful and happy.
Making me wish you were in politics here, Nitish. I will leave with that thought. We need more people thinking like you.
In Britain, I think that there's two P's. I think we leave out the positivity in the
Yeah,
UK.
at the moment, at the moment. But it's been fun here. It's been fun here. I mean, it's not work. It's not work. I could do this all day.
So I guess we have one more question though,
Okay.
which is that we ask everybody, and that is, what is your favorite game? I guess it's two questions. What is your favorite game right now?
Yeah.
And if you can pick one, what is your favorite game of all time?
So right now, I've been trying to play all the popular games published by Curve Games, so Wobbly Life and Human Fall Flat and For the King, and just trying to figure it out. Whenever I can get access to my console, my PS5, because my kids have usually taken it over. Fortnite is what they're doing all the time. But if I reflect back in terms of what was my all-time favorite game, actually, what comes to, and I may give my age away, but what really comes to mind is Prince of Persia.
Oh,
Ah, nice.
solid.
And the remake's on its way.
Yeah.
Must be pretty excited. Good
Well,
choice.
this has been great, Craig. It was your idea to start this series. I want to continue it, and I'm so glad we could kick it off with you, Nitish, because there's so much there. It's not just a story of a top games studio, but how one stays at the top of their game, literally. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
This show is all about how to do your job better, how to make an amazing game, how to market it, and you have a say. So if you have a story or know someone we need to shine a light on, then we would love to hear from you.
We want to hear from you. We want to reflect the reality of the mobile games market in all its wonderful complexity and strangeness. So if you have any suggestions for us, if you have any feedback for us, you can always get in touch. You can email us at podcast@pocketgamer.biz. You can find us on Twitter @PGBiz, and you can reach out to us through the pocketgamer.biz website. If you're interested in listening to all of our podcasts, you can find them at pocketgamer.biz/podcast, and we would love to hear your thoughts on future shows.
And we've got you covered on all the major platforms, so subscribe to the audio podcast, as Brian said. Look for us on YouTube. If you want to read it, hey, you can do that too, because we have a companion post for you as well on the pocketgamer.biz website.
Tune in again for the next edition of the pocketgamer.biz podcast, and we look forward to speaking to you in the near future.